What's up guys, my name's Brandon and today I'm going to be showing you the first 20 things you should do after unboxing your brand new 15-inch M2 MacBook Air. This machine is already an excellent value, but if you want to get even more value out of your machine, this video should set you on the right path. So I kept everything at default just so you could see how it is when you get your MacBook out of the box. Now the first thing we're going to do here is go up to our settings and then go to system settings, and we're going to update the software if it's not on the latest version, because for me, mine came with macOS Ventura 13.3, which was not the latest software. Now even if you are already on the latest software, you should also go to this section because you will see we have a new section here called beta updates, and if you click on the I, you will be able to turn beta updates on. It's off by default, but if you put in your Apple ID, you can hop on the macOS Sonoma beta. So this comes out to the public this fall, but you can get on it early by going right here and clicking on Sonoma beta, and then it will populate the update right here. And the only reason I mention this is because with macOS 14 Sonoma, you do get widgets on the desktop, and you also get some amazing screensavers. So I made a whole video showing the features on Sonoma if you want to check that out. The next thing we need to do is change a lot of display settings. So the first thing you probably noticed after watching this video is that I have a different wallpaper than what comes out of the box. And this is the exclusive wallpaper for the 15-inch MacBook Air. So if we go into our system settings and then go down to wallpaper, you will see under pictures, we have these different colors of this new MacBook Air wallpaper. So we have 4 different colors to choose from here. You can choose whichever one you like, but I would highly recommend changing it from the default. You could also change your wallpaper to a third-party picture from anywhere that you download it from online. But a pro tip here is just go to your desktop and create a new folder and just call it wallpapers. And from here, we're just going to open up our Finder and we're going to drag the wallpapers right here. And now that we have that and we can maybe add in a picture here, we'll just add in a random picture just for an example. And now under this wallpaper section in our settings, go to add folder, and we're going to go to our wallpapers folder right here. We're going to click on choose, and now it's going to always show whatever wallpapers I have in that folder right here in the wallpaper section. Now you don't need to have wallpapers on your favorites right here in Finder. I just like to have it so I can easily drag things into that folder because I like to change my wallpaper a lot. Anyways, once you have your wallpaper saved and you have your wallpapers folder right here, we're gonna go to displays, and you wanna change your display resolution to more space because this allows you to get, well, the most space out of your 15-inch display. So we have a big display. This is going to allow us to take full advantage of that. And you can see the resolution if you hover over is 1920 by 1243. I also want to see my battery percentage without having to click on the battery icon. So we want to go to our control center here and then go all the way down to the bottom, not all the way, but you will see the battery section right here. You want to have this show percentage turned on. Now it's going to show the percentage up there in your control center / status bar. Actually, if you want it in the control center, you can turn that on. And now when you activate the control center, it will show your battery in here down at the bottom, but that's not really necessary. I don't really go in my control center often, but that is there if you would like it. Now, speaking of the control center, we might as well talk about that more as well. So first off, you can see all these different items that you want to either show or hide in the menu bar, which the menu bar is all of this section up top. The control center is just when you click into this. I realized that what I said earlier could have been a little bit confusing. So only when you click on this is the control center. This is all the menu bar up top. So if you want to clean up the menu bar a little bit, this is where you do it. It's inside of the control center settings. So you can have your focus mode show up there. That's what this little icon is. It's showing my focus mode. You can turn that on or off. AirDrop, you could have that showing or hiding right there. So I like to have that actually showing in my menu bar. But what I do not like to have here are things like spotlight search. So this little search icon here, to do that quickly, just press Command Spacebar. So since I can do that real easily, I do not need that in my menu bar. So we're gonna take that out. We'll do Don't Show in Menu Bar. That cleans it up a little bit. Same with Siri, same with Time Machine. I don't like any of those showing up there. Also for clock options, if you don't wanna see the day and the AM, PM, all of that, this is where you can turn that off as well. All right, anyways, enough with that. Let's go on to the lock screen. So we're gonna go down here to where it says lock screen in our settings. And from here, you wanna change these because I don't know about you, but it drives me crazy when my device just dims after not touching the keypad or, not typing for like 2 seconds. So we're gonna do turn display off on battery when inactive to, I'm gonna do like 20 minutes for that. I sometimes will just sit there and not be using my computer for a little bit and then come back to it. And I don't like to have to re-log in or, re-unlock unlock my device after just 2 minutes. You can change the screensaver when inactive right there, turn display off on power adapter when inactive. So I don't like having this, but for maybe we'll just do like 30 minutes for that. Now, another thing I like to change is require password after screensaver begins. I like having this immediately. I like the maximum security for my device. We're gonna put in my password, and now every time my screensaver begins or my display is turned off, it requires a password immediately. If we head over to the appearance tab in settings, we have our appearance, light, dark, or auto. I like keeping mine on auto. We have the accent color. So this is going to change the accents throughout your device. So you will see the little, highlights right here are purple now. If I wanted to change that to yellow, it will show. This is system wide. So you could have that set to a specific color, or you could have it be multicolor depending on the application you're in. So I like to keep mine as multicolor. That is the default, but you could also change the highlight color. Like for example, if I go into one of my notes and I highlight this right here, you can see how it's yellow, but I can change that to be a specific color. So like if you have a theme, maybe you have like a purple theme like I have going here. Now when I highlight that, it shows as purple. And then you have these scroll bar settings that you can change right there as well. Now, something else I want to talk about are hot corners. So if you go into your display settings, it's actually under desktop and dock, but if you go all the way down here, you will see we have a section called hot corners. And what this does is it performs an action based on the corner you put your mouse in. So for example, if I want to lock the screen, or let's not do that, let's just do Launchpad, for example. If we want to do Launchpad in the top left, we can have that set, and in the bottom left, we'll do Quick Note, for example, whereas by default, it's in the bottom right. So now if I just put my cursor, my mouse up in the top left, you can see it opens that up, it performs that action, and the bottom left, it does that action by pulling up that quick note and allows me to type a quick note. So you can set that to any of these actions that you can choose, or you could just have it set to do nothing when you go in that corner. And just to take this a step further, if you don't want to have accidental triggers, like sometimes you will put your mouse up there and it does that action even though you don't want it to. So you can actually set a modifier key. So if you hold any key, you could see it puts that right before that. So for example, if I do Command and then, go to the right corner, so we'll just do, for this example, we'll do Notification Center. So now Command and then hovering up in the top left will bring up the notification center. So if I just go up there, you can see it doesn't perform that action, but if I hold Command and then go up there, it pulls up my notification center. And while we're in this section, I may as well just talk about the rest of the desktop and dock settings. So for the dock, it takes up a ton of space. First off, look how many icons we have down there. We want to delete the items that we're just not going to use on a daily basis. Like for me, I never use maps on my computer, so we're just going to drag that off and it's going to take it off of our dock. You have to hold a little bit. So for example, photos, I'm going to take that and drop it. We're going to do the same with contacts. We're going to get rid of every application that we don't use consistently. There we go. That already looks so much cleaner. And I like having my settings close to the front, and I like having my reminders right here, my calendar right here. I like everything before FaceTime. I don't use FaceTime often, but I do like having it there. Now you do also have these in the right. So this is going to show your recents. So you can turn this off. So if we go into our system settings, you have show recent applications and dock. Now you can turn that off and it will get rid of those recent applications if you don't like those showing up there. You can also change the magnification. So if you like a little magnifier going over it, you can do that. So now when I go over the app icon, you can see a little magnification. You can also change the size of that dock if you want it to be large or if you want it to be small. I like mine right around the middle, maybe on the smaller side. You could also change the position if you want it to be on the left or the right of your screen. You can change that. You can also do the genie effect or the scale effect when minimizing a window. So we're going to minimize this window, and you can see it just kind of speeds up the animation. I like having scale on instead of genie. Here's what genie looks like. It's just a little bit slower. All right, enough about the dock. Let's talk about this desktop because it's not looking too pretty or too organized right now. So we're going to right click, and the first thing I want to do is use stacks. So what this does, you can see it automatically cleans up everything, and it kind of categorizes everything by what it is. So it's going to take a lot of files that are the same. So like all of those were screenshots or screen recordings, and it puts them into one stack. And if you click on that, it will expand that stack and show you what it is. Now we can also do group stacks by, so you could group it by certain things. So if you don't want it to be by the kind of document, you can do it by, when it was opened or modified. Also, what I want to do here is go to show view options. So from here, you can change the icon size. So me personally, I think those are a little bit too big. So we're going to take it down a notch to maybe 44 by 44. You could change the grid spacing as well. So if you want it to be closer to the edge of the screen, you can change that. You can change the text size, the label position, and also if you want to show a preview of the icon or not, and also the size or how many items are in there. Now you'll also see that we have the trash icon down here at the bottom, and we do have a couple of things in there. Now what I like to do here is change the trash clearing to automatically empty after 30 days. So if we go up into our Finder, go to Advanced, and then remove items from the trash after 30 days. I like doing this just because it kind of puts a mental cue in my head that anything I put in the trash will be deleted after 30 days, and I don't use the trash to kind of just save space in a pinch. And while we're in this section, I also want to talk about the Finder, because this is also just a complete mess when you first open it up. I don't like how this looks at all. So we're going to change quite a few things here. So first off, we'll change how the items actually look when you open up Finder. So by default, you will see it is set to show as an icon. I like having mine as a list. I could just see more data. I could see when it was modified, the size, the kind. I could see all of that easily. So I like having that set there, but you can change it to whatever view you like. And then if you want to sort it by date modified, just click on this right here and it will sort by whatever you are selecting. And if you want to change this, by the way, just right click and you can choose to add or remove things from this section. So if I don't want the kind to show up, so it shows application, if I don't want that showing up, I can just deselect kind, and now I can buy myself more space. I can maybe expand these a little bit if I would like to, or add something else there in its place, like tags, for example, if I'm using tags. And then this section up top also looks a little bit bad. So we're going to right click right here and go to Customize Toolbar. And from here, you're going to be able to select what you want or don't want up in the toolbar. So for example, I don't use a lot of these things, like for example, tags. I will never use that. So we're going to remove tags. We're just going to drag that off of it and that disappears like so. And you can also add little spaces in here. So like for example, I really like having AirDrop in here. So we're going to drag AirDrop. We'll just put it right next to the share icon. And then this right here, the sort by, I don't like having that there either, so we're going to delete that. And we can do the same for the favorites over here on the left hand side. So you can right click and remove that from the sidebar, or you can go to your Finder settings and then just go to sidebar and you can just deselect what you don't want to show under favorites. So like for example, I don't need AirDrop there, I have it up top. I also don't like having tags, locations, or iCloud right there. So I'm going to turn all of those off. Actually, I will keep the hard drive section showing right there. That way it shows my hard drive and everything that's on it, or if I connect an external one, it will show right there. So now looks a lot cleaner. You could also move these around if you would like to. So for example, if I want to move these all above recents, I can do that. And also the recents folder, I'm not a big fan of that. So what we're going to do here is actually create a better recents folder by using a smart folder. So we're going to go to the Finder, go up to File, and we're going to go to New Smart Folder. And from here, we're going to click on this little plus, and we're going to set our parameters. So if I want it to be, for example, my recent files, what we're going to do is go right here and we're going to do, let's just say last open date or last modified date, either one. So we're just going to do last open date. We'll do within the last 30 days. And you'll see it starts to show a lot of things that were opened in the last 30 days, but some of these might not be what I want. Like I don't want applications to be in there. I may not even want, folders to be in there. I may just want it to be specific files. So what we're going to do is hold Option, and this plus turns into these three dots. And what we're going to do is click on that. I know this is getting a little bit technical and you didn't sign up for this, but just bear with me for a second. So we're going to set any to none. So we're going to set it to the kind being application. So you can see it removes all the applications. We're going to click on plus and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do kind, and now we're going to select what we do not want to show up in our smart folder. So for example, I'm going to do, let's just say folder. I don't want folders to show up. So now it's just going to show like specific files. And now just click on save. And now we have a new smart folder. We'll call this recents, and we'll add this to the sidebar. And now we have a much better recents folder than what we had before. So I can go ahead and remove this favorites, and now we have our recents smart folder that we have set up. And if you want to modify this again at some point, just right click on it and go to show search criteria, and you can change all of those parameters right here. Oh, and something critical that you should change about Finder is what opens up when you open a new Finder window. Like what is the first thing you see? So for me, for example, it's recents. That is default. I don't like that. So what we're going to do is go to Finder and then go to settings, and right here under general, you need to change new Finder window and what that opens. So like for me, for example, I probably want it to open up documents. I go in there a lot. So now every time I open up Finder, it's going to open up documents instead of that recents. And speaking of Finder, if Finder ever stops responding, if you want to relaunch it, you can see that there's really no way to close out of it. But if you press on Option and then right click on Finder, you have the option to relaunch Finder. So that is really handy if it ever stops responding and you need to open up Finder fresh. And if you're ever dragging files and you just need a quick and easy way to open up a new Finder window to maybe drag one item to another, Finder window, just press Command N, and that's going to open up a new Finder window, and then you can drag things really easy from one to another. Or of course you could press on Command T to open up a new tab in that selected Finder window. Okay, so one thing I really should have changed earlier because it's been driving me crazy this whole time is go to your settings and go to Trackpad. We're going to change our tracking speed, our click, and basically how we scroll. So the tracking speed is going to be how quick your tracker moves right here. So it's pretty slow by default for me at least. So I'm going to knock this up to pretty fast. So now you can see my mouse moves around a lot faster, and I like that. You could also have the click to be light, medium, or firm. That's nice to keep as default. Now something right here is tap to click. So if you want to tap with just one finger without having to actually click down on the trackpad, you can set this. So for example, if I go to that and now I go to scroll and zoom, all I have to do is simply tap one time and you can see it taps on that. Whereas if I have this deselected, I don't do that. I have to actually click down fully on the trackpad. So that is an option. I personally like keeping that off, but you can keep that on. Also the secondary click, you could have this to be like if you're coming from Windows, for example, you could set this to the right corner. That way it's more of like a right click instead of just kind of a two click on the trackpad. So now it's like a right click, and if I do two fingers, that does not do the same thing. I like keeping this at default, but for lookup and data detectors, I like doing this to tap with three fingers. So lookup is essentially like, for example, if I go into a Finder right here and I want to see a preview of this, I can either press on the space bar or I can now do a three finger tap. So now I can do a three finger tap and it previews that, or I could look up something like if I go into Safari, for example, and I go to a website, if I want to see a quick preview of that website, I can now use three fingers and just simply tap on the trackpad and I will see a preview of that website before actually going onto it. And then going over to scroll and zoom, I personally do not use natural scrolling. I like the scroller. I like scrolling down when my hand goes down, but you can change this to whatever you would like. You can kind of test it right here in this section. And then under more gestures, you can set your launchpad, your app expose, all of that. But one thing I want to change that's not in this section is under the accessibility settings. And then if we go down to pointer control, you will see that we have a section here under trackpad options for use trackpad for dragging. I like having this set to on and with three finger drag. So what this does is now if I set that, I can move this little window right here without clicking by just taking my three fingers and simply putting them right there. And then I can move this window around really easily with a three finger drag instead of having to click it. So this is a must do option in my opinion for the trackpad. I think it makes moving applications and just moving anything much easier. You should also know how to quickly take a screenshot and screen record. So to do this, just press Shift Command 3. So we're going to press Shift Command 3, and that will quickly take a screenshot. If you press Shift Command 5, that will pull up the window to quickly screen record your device. So you will see that you have screen record a selected portion or the entire screen, and you have these other options over here. Capture is what's considered taking a screenshot, and record is for a video. And you also have options right here, so you could set certain options. The next thing you want to do is add another fingerprint to your Touch ID. So we have Touch ID here in the top right of the MacBook Air, and sometimes you may want to have another finger unlock your Mac. So if you want to go into settings, Touch ID, and password, and you will see you have finger 1 from when you set up your MacBook to begin with, but you could add another one by clicking on add fingerprint. Maybe you can use the index finger from your other hand. Maybe you could use your middle finger, for example. That's a really easy one to touch right there. You can set that up like so. And then also if you have an Apple Watch like I do, you can set up to unlock your Mac quickly with an Apple Watch. I would highly recommend having this enabled. If you do have an Apple Watch, just put in your password, and now every time you lock your device, you could unlock it quickly just by having your Apple Watch on your wrist. The next thing you need to do is set up essential applications to open automatically on startup. So there's applications that you probably use like every single time you're on your MacBook, and you may want to have those automatically already running once you start up your Mac. So to do that, just go to General and then go to Login Items, and from here click on the plus and select which items or applications you want to run. And speaking of files opening automatically. One thing you might not like in Safari is how every time you download a song or a picture, it just automatically opens, and that drives me crazy. So to turn that off, just go into your settings in Safari, go to settings, and then down here at the bottom, we have open safe files after downloading. I would recommend turning that off. And while you're in here, you might as well change these other Safari settings as well. And same with tabs. If you want your tabs to show as separate or compact, you can change that and you can see what they look like. This is compact, looks more like the iPhone, or you can change it to separate where it looks like the old school style for Mac tabs. Now, the next thing you might want to do is use the Spotlight search for, well, pretty much everything. So if you press on Command Spacebar, because again, we don't have that up in the status bar anymore because we cleaned up that status bar earlier. So Command plus the space bar is how you get the Spotlight search. You can move this around as well. So what you want to do is literally use this for everything. If you have a web result that you want to find, do that here. If you want to do a math problem, like for example, 9 times 1992345, you can see the result right there in line in the Spotlight search. You could even run shortcuts from here. For example, if I start typing shortcuts, it can open up the shortcuts application quickly, or I can actually run shortcuts from the Spotlight search. You can see some of the ones it shows right here. And that's another thing. Every single application I open up on my Mac, I open it up via the Spotlight search. Like for Final Cut, for example, if I wanted to do that, I just start typing it in and then I press enter and it will open up the application quickly. Same with Safari. Any application you can do that with easily. Now you might also notice that we're seeing a lot of very random results. Let's change that. If you go into settings and then Siri and Spotlight and then scroll down, you will see you have Spotlight where you can take out certain things from the search results if you don't want them showing and kind of cluttering up everything when you search. The next thing you need to do is configure your messages and your FaceTime, because I don't know about you guys, but I hate when my MacBook rings at the same time as my iPhone, or I don't like getting a text message on multiple devices. Maybe it's just me, but if you're like me and you don't want that, just go into messages, for example, and then go to settings, iMessage, and then deselect how you can be reached for messages. So I'm going to deselect my phone number and pretty much every email. Maybe I'll have one email in there that I want to receive messages from, but I definitely do not want my phone number, my messages that are specifically meant for my phone number, to go to my computer. And then if we go into FaceTime, same thing. Let's go into our settings. And then right here, you can see you can be reached by. I do not want my phone number to be able to be reached by FaceTime on my MacBook. And we're going to deselect everything except for maybe one email. And also we have calls from iPhone right here. You might want to turn that off as well. Now, the next tip is something a little bit more practical, and that is to get a USB hub if you want to have extra ports. So on the MacBook Air, you do not get as many ports as you do on a MacBook Pro, so you might want to consider getting a USB hub. This is going to allow you to get more USB-C ports, maybe an HDMI port, and SD card slots. I will leave some of my favorites linked in the description below, but this is something you might want to consider getting for your MacBook. Now, you'll also probably want to get an external SSD. So for me, for example, if I go into my system settings in general and then to storage, you can see I only have 245 gigabytes of space. That's going to run up quickly if I'm going to download a lot of applications and maybe do some light video editing. So I might want to get an external SSD. That way I can save all of my files on that external device and it's not taking up my internal storage. And again, I will leave my favorite ones linked in the description below. I personally use the Samsung T7 SSD. And speaking of storage and files, you might want to also use Time Machine to back up all of your files. Now for this, I would recommend maybe not getting an SSD because you will need a lot of space and a hard drive will be cheaper. So you can maybe get a 4 terabyte hard drive for like $100 and just use that for backups. So if you go to your settings here, and in this same general section, you have Time Machine. And from here, you want to add your backup disk and you will be able to back up all of your files on a daily or weekly, whenever you set basis. That way all of your files are backed up on an external drive. And then the last thing I'll mention is that you want to configure your iCloud settings as well. So if you go to your iCloud section up in the top of your settings, and you want to go to iCloud and then go down to where it shows iCloud Drive. And from here, it's fine to have iCloud Drive sync this Mac, but you want to have desktop and documents folders turned off. You don't want all of your desktop and documents files being in iCloud, because that way, unless you have 2 terabytes of space, This is just going to run through all of your storage in iCloud. So I recommend turning this off, and you could also change which apps sync to the iCloud drive. And one last tip I want to give you is a quick and easy way to activate Do Not Disturb. So I use this all the time. Instead of going into here and then going to focus and then turning on Do Not Disturb, that takes too long. You can do this with one simple click. So if you hold on Option and then click on the time right here, that's going to automatically enable that. So you can see I didn't go in there, and Do Not Disturb is turned on. And if you want to turn it off, again, just Option and click on the time, the notification center right there, and it will turn it off. So there you have it. Those are more than 20 things and kind of settings you should change after getting your brand new 15-inch MacBook Air. I will have some more advanced tips and also some applications you should install on your MacBook at a later date. So if you want to see those, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful at all, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.